Hello everyone, welcome to ITPogo.com, this virtual classroom, and in this e-learning session we are going to learn PowerShell basics and advanced scripting. So under basics we are going to go through the introduction of PowerShell, what PowerShell is, and how it is better than the previous scripting or automation solutions like VB or Bash scripting. Uh, what are the advantages of using PowerShell, the security aspects and all. Uh, we will start with the introduction to PowerShell by giving the introduction to the different flavors which are available as a part of PowerShell package. You will get PowerShell console and ISC. We will take a look at how tab completion works, what is IntelliSense, the difference between the ISC and console, these two flavors of PowerShell. Um, then when you will start learning PowerShell, let me tell you, there are three basic things. If you understand these three basic things properly, you can teach yourself PowerShell very easily. You don't need to depend on someone to enhance your knowledge on PowerShell. If you understand these three things completely, then irrespective of which technology you're working on, whether you're working on IIS, whether you're working on Azure automation or Windows servers, you can enhance your knowledge easily on PowerShell. So the first thing that we are going to learn is running commands. For running commands, you need to know how to find commands, which commands are available. That will be the first question that will come to your mind. After finding commands, you need to understand what is the syntax of the command, and after you understand the syntax, you need to understand which are the mandatory parameters, which are the optional parameters, and how to pass those parameters. You might need to take a look at some examples how to run the commands. So that will be covered under the second thing, that is using the help system. So the first thing which is important is finding commands. For running the commands, you need to first find the commands. Then after you find the command, you need to understand how to use that command. Using the help system, you can achieve it. Then the third and important thing, you found the command, you ran the command. Now whatever output you're getting out of that command, you need to understand how to manipulate that output, how to select only some useful properties from the output, how to identify what are, first of all, what are the properties that you're getting from the output of the command. That you need to identify. That you can do only when you understand the output object. So in PowerShell, uh, PowerShell is totally different than other scripting languages and other command lines like the traditional command prompt, which comes with the Windows CMD. So there, whatever command you run, you will get a plain text output. That is not the case with PowerShell. In PowerShell, whatever command you run, you will get an object. Now object is very important, and PowerShell is all object oriented. In object, you will get properties, methods, which makes it easy for you to sort, filter and select columns. Lot of things, lot of operations you can perform easily on objects, because objects will have properties. And if you want to perform some actions on each individual item in the object collection or in that object, you can use methods. You can make use of methods. Methods will allow you to say, for example, if we consider service as an object, so service will have methods as start, stop, restart, pause, resume. So using these methods, you can perform some actions on the objects. Now if you understand these three things, running commands, using the help system and using the objects or manipulating the objects, you are half done with learning PowerShell. Rest everything that you are going to learn, that is all for beautifying your output, getting your output into some format. Say for example, if you want the output in HTML format, XML format, CSV, or there are some other formats which are supported like JSON, and if you want you can obviously output into a plain text. Then we will talk about the providers. As I said, PowerShell is extensible irrespective of which technology you're working on. If you're working on SharePoint, Active Directory, if you're working on Windows servers, Hyper-V, VMware, anything that you can think of. The basic fundamentals of PowerShell, the basic ways you can run the commands or get the output or manipulate the output, those are not going to change with any technology. The basics are going to be same. That way you just need to learn PowerShell once and you can implement your PowerShell knowledge on any software, any piece of software. You can use your PowerShell knowledge for managing Exchange, IIS, you can manage SCCM, any software that you can think of which is available for Microsoft platform. Because nowadays for every piece of software which is coming from Microsoft, they are providing the PowerShell modules. That is what makes PowerShell extensible. So in PowerShell you can make use of providers wherever you have hierarchical data like Active Directory, file system, registry, certificates and all. You can browse these hierarchical data stores as if you're browsing the file system. In file system, what do you have? You have the root drive C, then you have folders or subfolders and files, so on. So the way you browse the file system, in the similar fashion you can browse the hierarchical data store like Active Directory, SQL, or if you want you can access the certificate store, registry, everything in the same fashion. So we will take a look at what are the providers in detail when we will go through that chapter. Then as I said, adding commands will make PowerShell more powerful, because when you add commands for a specific technology or a specific piece of software. Say for example, if you want to manage Microsoft Azure using PowerShell, just install one small SDK on your computer and all the PowerShell commandlets which are available for managing Microsoft Azure will be available there on your computer. You can import them as modules and then start managing Microsoft Azure. Now this is one of the most important features of PowerShell which makes it really powerful. As I said, PowerShell is all object oriented. So when you run a command, you will get some output in form of an object. That object will have properties and methods, and it might have events as well, like any other object orientation fundamentals or concepts which are available outside of PowerShell. PowerShell is built on .NET, and whatever object you get, that object will be available to flow in the pipeline. Now what is pipeline? In PowerShell, the output of one command can be given as input to the second command. Now when that second command receives the output from the first command, it can perform certain operations on that output object. If you want, you can filter, you can sort, you can select few columns, you can beautify by selecting the output format, whether you want to convert that into a formatted table, formatted list, or whatever. Then you can pass it to the second command in the pipeline, or if you are done with playing with the object in the pipeline, you can display it on screen, whatever output has been produced by manipulating that object. So how data flows in the pipeline. We will take a very closer and deeper look using the PowerShell pipeline. There are different ways data flows in the pipeline. We will take a look at all those ways. We will take a look at the parenthetical commands, how to extract value from a single property. Believe me, this is going to be very interesting. Don't look at those terminologies, but if you just keep on learning it, you will understand that it is very good tool and very important in today's um, IT sector. If you have to manage something, the easiest way to manage something on Windows platform is PowerShell. There are a lot of things which cannot be achieved using GUI. There are a lot of things which can be achieved only using PowerShell. Believe me, it is true. Now, rest everything is, as I said, for beautifying the output. How do you format the output? How do you filter the output? How do you compare two objects? How do you select only certain properties? How do you translate the output into some GUI format like a grid view? All those things will be covered here. Then another important feature of PowerShell is remoting. Using remoting, by sitting on your local laptop, you can manage almost any computer in your domain environment. Now, using remoting, how to connect to a remote computer, how to control one-to-one, means from one machine, your local laptop, to a remote server, and how to manage multiple servers at a time. We will take a look at that. Now, earlier, before PowerShell was available, WMI was available since a long time. After Windows Server 2000, WMI was introduced. Before Windows Server 2000, this was called as COM objects. So WMI is available inside PowerShell, but it is not part of PowerShell. It is part of your operating system. But there are a lot of commandlets which are available in PowerShell, using which it becomes very easy to play with WMI. WMI has almost every software and hardware piece, information about every software and hardware piece, which is available on your local computer or a remote computer. You can gain access to that information using WMI. Now, how do you manipulate, or how do you access WMI using PowerShell? We will take a look at that. Now, WMI has again now become old standard. The new replacement, you cannot say it as a replacement, but this is a new technology which might slowly replace WMI in future, but it has not currently replaced WMI, is CIM, because CIM is faster than WMI and it is more secure than WMI. Now we will get into the details of the difference between the CIM, WMI, and how to gain access to WMI objects, CIM instances, and how to get help and documentation about WMI or CIM. We will take a look at that when we will go through this chapter. Now, the next thing that we are going to cover in this course is multitasking. When you are running some commands, or when you are running some scripts which you know that those scripts or those commands are going to take a lot of time to complete, and you don't want to wait for that command or script to complete and keep using PowerShell for some other tasks which are important. Say for example, if you want to fetch details about 1000 users from Active Directory. Now you can imagine fetching these details from a domain controller will be very time consuming, because you are going to deal with 1000 objects, it is going to return 1000 user objects, and it will not be faster if you are connecting to a DC over WAN, especially over WAN. If it is a local domain controller, it might be faster, but over WAN it will be very slow. So in such cases, how do you make use of the jobs? There are different kinds of jobs: local jobs, WMI jobs, remoting jobs, and when you are connecting to multiple computers, there is something called as child jobs. How do you manage these jobs? How can you schedule jobs using PowerShell? We'll take a look at all those things during this course. Then working with bunches of objects. When you run a command and you get multiple objects as output, there are certain best practices. In this chapter, we will take a look at what are the best practices. What is the best way of handling the bunch of objects? Which way should be given priority, and how do you decide at what time which way do you choose for handling multiple objects? Then, as I said, as compared to VB script or any other scripting language which was there prior to PowerShell, PowerShell is very secure. We will take a look at all the security aspects which are there. How do you set the execution policies? How do you sign the scripts? How do you prevent users from modifying your scripts? How do you prevent users from running unauthorized scripts on your computer or on your servers? So all these things will be covered as part of basics of PowerShell. Then slowly, when you are comfortable with this, we will start moving towards the advanced topics, that is the scripting part of the PowerShell. We are going to start with the basics like variables. What are the variables? Then we will take a look at how to create variables, how to change values, how to manipulate variables. Then when we talk about scripting, taking input from the users and giving output is another important aspect of your scripts, because you cannot write scripts which are having all the hard-coded values. You are not allowing users to input the values. Whatever values you have written in the script, if you hard-code them, those scripts will be useful only for that particular instance. You cannot use those scripts at any other place or wherever required. Your scripts should be flexible enough to ask for the values, and based on the values which are provided by the users, it should perform some actions. And how your scripts will give some useful output, how that output can be passed to another scripts or another commands, we will take a look at that. Then while you're dealing with scripts, how do you deal with the remote sessions? How do you manage the sessions while you are inside scripts? Then we will take a look at the difference between the script and a function. How do you add parameters? How do you slowly, we will try to understand how these built-in PowerShell commandlets are made, and whatever scripts we are writing, we will try to translate those scripts into the PowerShell commandlets, and very slowly we will go towards a path where our scripts can be converted into modules, and those modules can be imported or will be available for everyone in your organization. So you will write your scripts, you will publish the scripts, and once you publish your scripts as modules, those modules will be available for everyone in your organization, and they can make use of your efforts. Whatever functions or commandlets that you have created, those commandlets will be available to everyone in your organization. So before you do that, you need to again take a look at how to make the input parameters mandatory, how to deal with the beautification of the parameters, how do you add validation alias, how do you add verbose output. There are a lot of things. While dealing with this, you need to also understand when you are using the variables inside a script, what is the scope of those variables. And you also need to take a look at the best practices for using the scope. Now, as I said, we are slowly moving towards converting our scripts into a tool which can be reused. There will not be anything which is hard coded. Our scripts should be capable of producing the objects which can be consumed by other scripts or other commandlets. It should mix and match with the DNA of PowerShell, built-in PowerShell commandlets. Whatever you develop, nobody should be able to differentiate between whether the scripts or commandlets that you have developed are part of PowerShell or those are custom scripts or custom functions. That can be achieved when you follow certain guidelines. We will take a look at those. Now, when we talk about writing advanced functions, we need to think about how to add mandatory parameters, how to do the parameter validation. Then writing the output in a proper manner is also important aspect of writing the scripts. How do you add progress indicators? If your script is going to run it is going to run on remote computers and it is going to take a lot of time for returning the results, user should not think that your script is not responding. There should be some progress indicator which should be capable of indicating the progress, how your script is working. Then we will take a look at, this is again part of beautifying the output. How do you manipulate the string and dates? Then these are some common features of any scripting or programming language. The programming constructs, how to make use of if, switch, do while, for each and all those things. Error handling. This is another important aspect of writing professional scripts. Now, if you are writing the scripts which are not capable of handling the errors properly, if those scripts are giving some generic errors which will give no clue to the user what went wrong, that is not called a professional script. So your script should be capable of throwing some meaningful errors. So we'll take a look at how to use try, catch and finally blocks for error handling. Then we will see how to debug your scripts, and the final step will be publishing your scripts. As I said, once you write the script should be written in such a way that anybody in your organization should be able to import that script as a module, and all those functions which are available inside that script should be available for them, and they should be able to use it as if they are using a built-in PowerShell commandlet. They should not be able to distinguish between whether this is a built-in PowerShell commandlet or something that you have written. It should look professional. Now, as this is not actually part of the agenda, but I usually give some extra bonus scripts for how to create IE objects, how to manipulate Outlook, Excel and certain other objects which are available in Windows platform. And I also, if you have any specific requirements that you want me to cover, you can come up with those requirements. I will include that as the last topic in our course agenda. And I believe this is going to cover almost everything that you are looking for from PowerShell. This is PowerShell Basics and Advanced Scripting and Tool Making course. So there are certain new features which are currently available in PowerShell, but I believe after you go through this course you can easily adopt those features and those technologies which are coming with PowerShell version 4 and 5. This course is based on PowerShell version 3, though we are using PowerShell version, we might use PowerShell version 4 and 5, but the features that we are going to focus are from PowerShell version 3. PowerShell version 4 and 5 comes up with new features like Windows Workflow Foundation, PowerShell Workflows, and DSC. But for DSC, you need a server and client environment wherein you need to implement a lot of stuff. You need a lot of setup for that. So you can figure out after you complete this course. It will be easy for you to figure out how to adopt workflows and DSC part of the PowerShell. And I'm open for any questions or any queries that you may have even after completing the course. So feel free to reach me. You can reach me through my website, that is itpogo.com. You will find my contact number there and my email address. You can post your queries, and we will be enhancing this site further, where we will start some discussion forums, and you can contribute your scripts, your answers, or your question. You can post your questions. Thank you for joining, and please let me know your feedback about this.